We've all done it. Swiping right, hoping for a spark. You build the perfect profile. You pick the best pictures, and you put your trust in a stranger on the other side of the screen. That trust is like glass, essential but fragile. But what happens when that trust is shattered? When a dream date turns into a deadly nightmare? For 26-year-old Noah Truba, a dating app meetup ended with two people shot in a claim of self defense. That would put everything to a test. A family is left shattered, and the rest of us are left questioning the safety of swiping right. One person is dead, another is fighting for their life, and the accused shooter swears he was in danger. This is the story of a search for connection that turned into a scene of absolute horror, leaving investigators to untangle two completely different stories, like trying to solve a single puzzle with pieces from two different boxes. Online dating is a world built on hope. Millions of us log in every day, looking for love, or even just a connection in what can feel like an isolated world. For 26-year-old Noah Truba, that search led him to a couple in the Dallas area. We don't have their profiles or the exact words they exchanged, the digital breadcrumbs that led them to take a chance on each other. What we do know is that on the other end of that conversation were 57-year-old Guadalupe Gonzalez and her partner, who considered themselves husband and wife. Now, the age gap might raise an eyebrow, but on dating apps, those kinds of barriers often disappear. These platforms connect people from all walks of life. Sometimes it leads to a soulmate, other times it's just about exploring something new. After some back and forth, they made the decision to meet in person. This is always the critical moment. The jump from the screen to the real world is like stepping through a portal. You hope the person waiting on the other side is the one you imagined. You hope the chemistry is real. And most of all, you hope you're safe. For Noah Truba and this couple, that one step would trigger a chain of events ending in absolute tragedy. The plan was set. Truba would meet the couple at their home on High Meadow Drive in northwest Dallas. Going from an app to a private home for a first meeting is a huge leap of faith. It's like skipping the shallow end and diving head first into the deep end of a pool, trusting the water is safe. According to the arrest affidavit, the evening started out just like that. Truba told investigators they all spent time together, drinking and using drugs. It paints a picture of a relaxed, consensual gathering, three adults hanging out behind closed doors. But in those moments, it's easy to let your guard down. The lines between stranger and friend start to blur. But as the night deepened and the substance took hold, the vibe inside the house allegedly began to change. The feeling was like the air growing heavy and still right before a thunderstorm. And here, the story splits into two completely different realities. Outside on High Meadow Drive, the world was quiet. It was the early morning of January 2nd, 2026. But inside that house, a volatile situation was brewing, building towards a point of no return. What began as a casual dating app meetup was about to explode into violence, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable horror that would soon be flooded with the lights of police cars and paramedics. The only person who could challenge the shooter's story was in no condition to speak. So what happened? According to Noah Truba, It was his worst nightmare come to life. He told police that the couple, Guadalupe Gonzalez and her partner, tried to sexually assault him. His story is that the friendly, consensual vibe completely vanished, replaced by a terrifying, violent attack. He claims he wasn't a guest anymore. He was a victim, fighting for his life. And in that moment of pure panic, Truba says he opened fire. The result was catastrophic. When first responders arrived around 5:10 a.m., they walked into a bloodbath. Guadalupe Gonzalez, 57 years old, was pronounced dead at the scene. Her search for a connection had been violently cut short. Her partner was found barely alive and was rushed to a local hospital in critical condition, their life hanging by a thread. The crime scene was like the final frame of a movie. It showed the brutal ending but gave no clues about the plot that led to it. It screamed of brutal violence, but it couldn't say why it happened. And Truba himself, he didn't stick around. He didn't call 911. He ran. In any self-defense case, your actions afterwards are critical. Fleeing the scene is like seeing someone run from a burning building. Are they the arsonist or a victim escaping the flames? The truth was buried somewhere in the details, and it was now up to investigators to dig it out. While paramedics fought to save one life, a manhunt was kicking off in the pre-dawn darkness of northwest Dallas. Noah Truba had vanished into the neighborhood. This is where 21st century policing took over. The Dallas PD launched a drone, giving them an eye in the sky. Using a thermal camera, the drone scanned backyards and alleyways, looking for a heat signature anywhere a person might hide. It didn't take long. The drone locked onto a heat source near a highway. Units on the ground moved in and found their man, 26-year-old Noah Truba, hiding. His flight was over. Truba was taken into custody, and the manhunt ended. But for detectives, the real work was just starting. He was arrested and booked into the Dallas County Jail on a murder charge. The Dallas PD made it clear the investigation was far from over. They even released the lead detective's name, asking the public for any information. This tells you they weren't just taking the suspect's word for it. They needed more. Truba's story was a locked door, and the only key? The testimony from the surviving victim was out of reach as they fought for their life. Today, Noah Truba sits in a jail cell, charged with murder, but his claim of self-defense casts a long shadow over the entire case. Is he a young man who stumbled into a predator's trap and did what he had to do to get out alive? Or is he a cold-blooded killer who invented a story to cover his tracks? This case hits a nerve because it plays on our deepest fears about modern dating. That feeling is like the slight turbulence you feel on a plane. You trust the pilot and the machine, but a small part of you always knows something could go terrifyingly wrong. We all take a leap of faith when we meet a stranger. This story is just the worst possible way that leap can end. This story is just the worst possible way that leap can end. The investigation is still active, and there's so much we don't know. Were there red flags, or was this just a horrible, tragic collision of 3 lives? The biggest question mark remains the condition of the surviving victim. Their story is the missing piece of this puzzle, the one that could change everything. Ultimately, the full story will come out in a courtroom. A jury will have to weigh the evidence, Truba's confession and his actions against his claim that he was the one in danger. The Noah Truba case is a chilling reminder of the dangers that can hide behind a dating profile. It's a story about how the trust we need to build a connection can sometimes be turned against us. It makes you think, what safety precautions do you take when meeting someone from an app? Let me know your strategies in the comments. You never know who it might help. For more in-depth true crime stories that dig into the complexities of the justice system, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. In the end, we're left with the tragic death of Guadalupe Gonzalez, a 57-year-old woman who was looking for a connection and instead lost her life. No matter what a jury decides, her story is a heartbreaking cautionary tale about the unpredictable and sometimes deadly intersection of technology, trust, and human nature. Like a chaotic crossroads with no stoplights, where a terrible crash is always possible.